Welcome to TSG Foundation's Wisdom of the Zodiac monthly study and meditation. Today I'm going to talk about the Sun in Libra, taken from Volume 3 of Wisdom of the Zodiac, Chapter 6, titled Energy and Balance. This is a beautiful chapter on Libra. It's a brief chapter, but I encourage all of you to read this chapter at least 3 times during the full moon week, and you will see how many nuggets of wisdom are embedded in this chapter. You almost miss them the first time you read them. So I'm going to start by reading the first paragraph on page 69 and explain some of the keynotes, and we'll go from there. So the first paragraph is, the energy of Libra is the energy of balance. On a deeper level, the energy of Libra continuously upsets the existing equilibrium and creates a new equilibrium until you reach the point where you are the equilibrium itself. So there are 2 words here that are immediately apparent for us for the sign of Libra, and that these are the words balance and equilibrium. Let me define them briefly and then we'll go on. Balance is the process of adaptation of your material, physical, emotional, mental life to your higher values. So it's a process. That's why the scales are always going up and down. So you have on the one side your values that you hold for yourself, your visions and your dreams, your internal belief system that drives you. And then on the other side you have how you experience those, how you express those. And those 2 are always fighting inside of us, always moving up and down. And they upset our balance often, because sometimes we do things and think things and feel things that are really not part of our value system. And we need to bring those into that striving, into that process of adaptation. So we are adapting ourselves continuously to the higher values. Of course, there are different kinds of adaptation, which is, for example, adapt to the common values, to the herd values, to what the media is telling us we should believe and how we should act. But that is not the wisdom of ageless wisdom teachings. The wisdom is to adapt yourself continuously to the next higher value. And the important thing about this process is not to set our standards and values so high that they are, in our minds, never going to be achieved, and then not to set them in such a restricted manner that they only work for 1 day or 2 days, and then we're done and we get bored. So the whole idea of setting standards and values and then adapting to them is to go ahead and stretch yourself as far as you can, and then plan what you are going to do to adapt yourself to those things. Sometimes we think that by just setting goals, for example, or setting standards and values for ourselves, that's enough. That would just do it for us. It's like making a list. And that's not where it starts and stops. So it's something that we think about, and we should, of course, always set standards and values for ourselves. But the next part and most important part is striving. So we are striving, continuously striving to achieve a little bit of the values that we set for ourselves. So the next word is equilibrium. What is equilibrium? Equilibrium is the poise, the state of serenity that you can find yourself in, that no matter what happens that upsets your balance, it doesn't throw you off your beauty, your humanity, your ability to have right human relations. And there are times that our equilibrium is also tested. And those are very, very important times for us to take note and say, why is that equilibrium? What is my sense of who I am, my value being upset? And that is a very important learning time for us. So you can see with those 2 words that if you set yourself with standards that are so high and so unachievable or so far away from you, that your sense of serenity is going to be lost and you will feel depressed. And so the whole idea is not to succumb to deep depression, but to get to a point where you say, I really need to do something. So the whole idea of Libra is continuously moving up and down testing ourselves toward what really keeps our serenity, what keeps our humanity, and then what upsets it. That teaches us something. And then also to always test where my values are compared to how I'm living my life. So the word that really popped up for me in this paragraph is continuously upsets the existing equilibrium. So embedded in this paragraph is the idea of conflict, that there is no harmony in our life, no healing, no resolution until we have conflict. And how we attack that conflict or approach that conflict is an important part of our life. So we are going to take it for granted that living means to have values, to set standards, and then strive to achieve them. And yes, there will be upsets of all kinds, and that's part of life. And the upset is what points us to the point to where we need to reach another set of equilibrium. So for example, if you get really angry or upset at something, you need to find out why that happened. And what is it that you need to have internally in order to stay in a balanced and serene state. So on that same page, continuing, you set a standard for yourself and say, I will achieve this. Then you pull yourself up to that standard. So first you say, I will achieve it, and then you pull yourself. So those are very important for us to remember in the spiritual field, that just affirming something is not enough. That's just a first step, and it's not the hardest step. The hardest step is when you try to pull yourself up to that standard. So it's very important how you articulate the standards in your life. Very, very important part of your whole spiritual health and balance. But if you stay there, you are dead. And we know inside of us that whenever life is stale and standing still, we always do something to upset that balance. It is part of our life, really embedded in us, to constantly tip the scales and move ourselves out of that state where nothing was happening. So you create greater standards and pull yourself up to them. So every time you create a new standard, it is a cause for conflict and upset. And it's interesting that many times that we set standards and values and goals for our life, and they create such a pain inside of us, such a conflict inside of us, that we may give them up. But if we try to push through that conflict, we will really, really reap the results. This process continues toward infinity until the cosmic magnet is found. And it's really important for us just intellectually to have that idea that we start as babies and we move through that achieving, walking, learning how to talk, learning how to feed ourselves, and so on through life, becoming masters and great ones. But there's no end. It's infinity. So that whole idea is the process continues toward infinity. So this sets a nice standard for us that small ups and downs in our life, small conflicts that come and go, even huge conflicts that we suffer as a family sometimes, as a nation, and as humanity, these are really small when we think in comparison to infinity. That we are going to continuously experience these ups and downs of life, the upsets and conflicts of life, and it is through them, through that whole process, that we will achieve harmony and equilibrium. When we strive to establish equilibrium, we point ourselves toward the cosmic magnet. That's really interesting. So every time you set a standard for yourself and you try to achieve it, you are actually going toward cosmos. And I thought about that. What does that mean? That means that I am trying to find harmony in myself. I am trying to harmonize. What is my ideal? And how do I find that? And if we're honest with ourselves, we will be ready to understand and find out that that harmony is achieved maybe for a year or 2 or 10 years, and then it changes because we change. So even the standards we set for ourselves, at the level that we achieve them, we have to keep in the back of our mind that it is going to be upset and it is going to change, and we are going to go through layers and layers of conflict. We know that as we get older and we settle down too much into habit, that life gets very, very boring. And people who are always challenging themselves to create, for example, creative artists, writers, scientists, to continuously challenge your mind, your life, your physical body even, it is going to make you much stronger, much more fun, have much more joy, and much more health. Your brain is also going to work much better when you challenge yourself and you overcome the things that keep you lethargic. So going to the next page, page 70, the symbol of Libra is a scale. So that's the pictorial idea that we have of Libra. This symbol applies to average humanity and even to animals. So having a scale that's balanced is commonplace. But the symbol of Libra is not simply a balance scale where each side moves up and down according to the weight in the other cup. Okay, so this, we're not talking about emotional and mental and physical turbulence continuously. No, there's something else here. Humanity is now entering the path of initiation, and they are looking for a new interpretation of the old symbols. And what would that be for us? What is the new interpretation? And for me, the way I see it here and I read it, it is really embedded in the next paragraph that equilibrium is a vertical life where in each moment you reach for, catch, and become your own dream. Okay, that is so beautiful. And you're going to see how you're going to do that through this energy of Libra, that you are going to set a standard for yourself that I want to be this person. I want to be like that person. And how am I going to do that? We're going to reach for that as high as you can. Catch it. That means make it your own. Make it part of your life. And then transform yourself in such a way that you become your dream. Then you become a new dream, always trying to become the dream itself. Isn't that beautiful? So we have a dream, an archetype of who we want to be, and we're continuously reaching for that. Now, within the Libra energy, there are 3 things that must be brought into equilibrium, and these 3 things are very, very important. And I will talk briefly about them and ask you yourself to see how you view each of these in your life. The first one is law, the second one is sex, and the third one is money. How do you live your life within the laws of nature is the first one. So law is very, very important for us to be in harmony with the laws. Of course, we try to obey the laws of our nation. We try to obey the laws of our religious principles. We try to obey the laws of our esoteric principles. But this is asking us to go even deeper and say, what are the laws that you operate under internally? And how do you find balance within those laws? Now, these laws, human laws, are out of balance because they do not completely reflect the will of the almighty cosmic entity. So within all great traditions, great religious traditions that is, we are given commandments and laws that are the highest law. And we're trying to create small laws in our family life, in our individual life, in our national life, that would reflect that great law. And we're trying to live by those laws. And interestingly, a friend of mine once said that what we are trying to do in the esoteric classes and teachings is to go to law school and learn the laws of nature and how God's laws operate in our daily life and see how that changes. So for example, there may be laws that were applied to you as a child that don't apply to you now. What are the laws that you are going to adhere to? And these are really important, so I will ask you that question during this time of Libra. What are the laws in your life that you adhere to? These are laws for you, that you don't slide by them, that you really take them into serious consideration, that you don't break. Now, when we think of law in our everyday life, we see that laws in our social and criminal laws are meant for punishment and for making us obey things in a certain way. But here in this chapter it is saying laws are made for discipline, but real laws, page 71, is an effort, a formula, a ceremony, and a mystery that pulls people up on the path of evolution. So just by having somebody discipline us, telling us we're bad, or we ourselves tell ourselves we've been bad, we've done something wrong, we have broken the moral code, for example, that is not going to make us go anywhere in the natural process of evolution. In the process of evolution, what helps us is the effort to understand how the mystery of life works. When we make that effort and we learn the hidden laws that govern our life, we will then start transforming ourselves. For example, there are laws of the sun that bring life to us, and for us to absorb that prana of the sun, our body has to be operating in a certain way. So we learn that in order for us to benefit from the energy in the universe around us, we have to be doing certain things in our life in order to absorb, circulate, and radiate that energy. So we can see that there are great laws in the universe coming from the one law of the will of the Creator, the will of God. And what is that in our life? So during this time of Libra, you can ask yourself, under what laws do I conduct my life? What are they? Are they the laws of, for example, righteousness? Being righteous in everything? That when I receive something, I always reciprocate? That I don't expect something for nothing? You see, when we do that, we're breaking the law, because all of life is to be able to receive and to give. So think about that. And there's something really, really interesting in this page, in the middle of the page. Only by being in your true self do you exist. So I'd like to stretch that out a little bit and say, only by being in our true self, in our true value of who we are, do we exist in the law. That's when we operate in the law, and we do not break any laws when we understand what that means. So this is a very important part for us to understand. The greatest law that you have is your conscience and your intuition. When you become intuitive, you can live according to your own conscience and balance your life with your intuition. So your conscience is going to tell you what is the law. It's interesting because on the outside we may not look like we're breaking any laws, but inside of us we may be every minute. So consider what that means and what your conscience is telling you. When your conscience is linked to the highest law, the will of God, you will really start seeing transformation in your life. It's so beautiful. What is the second thing? That we must have an equilibrium in Libra, and that is sex. This refers not to the sexual organs, but to the energy that creates forms, the creative principle in life. If forms are created according to the prototypes or the blueprints that exist in the mind of the Almighty Power, you are equilibrating sex. So many times esoteric students or disciples may not want to talk about the subject of sex, but we can take it on any level: physical, emotional, mental sex, spiritual ideals of creation. Sex is not just physical organ, two people coming together, but it is about communicating, about having a dialogue in the most honest and most naked way that you can. In that moment of communication, the highest communication, if you can look at yourself the most intimate way and see how are you expressing yourself. To yourself, the values that you hold about your body, about your expression, about the love that you have for the other person, about the value that you give to the other person. And this whole idea of sex is going to give you an intimate knowledge about yourself and the kind of esteem that you hold yourself and other people. And that is going to color all the relationships that you have. So it starts with you, that intimate look that you have at yourself and the way you relate to other people, and that one special person in your life, and then take that to the way that you relate to yourself as a soul, to your solar angel, to the great ones, to the great mysteries of the ageless wisdom, and the creative energy that has, that relationship, is very, very important for you. So come to terms with your most intimate dialogue that you have with yourself and with other people and with all of life. Because at the end of the day, the energy of sex is a great creative energy, not just for creating love between two people and companionship, children, but also the creative energy that creates forms of art, music, writing, laws, and universes even. Look at this most beautiful statement on top of page 72. It is because of sex that all stars and galaxies are created. You see, we can't just think of sex in the terms of the physical organs, but in the whole relationship, in the dialogue that you have with all of creation. A positive polarity and a negative polarity come together electrically and create universes according to a blueprint or a vision. You see, so when you think about your most intimate relationships with a person, a significant person in your life, think about what you're revealing to yourself and to that other person in that intimacy, and also how are you relating with all of life in the most honest and true way that you can. You're going to learn a lot about yourself when you ask yourself those questions. How am I seeing yourself in the most intimate and quiet moments of my life? Now let's go to the third way that Libra is going to help us during this time, and that is we must find the third factor that must be balanced in Libra is money. Money is a great creative energy, just like sex is, just like the law, the one law is. These are three creative energies: law, sex, and money. Three creative energies that really make life turn around and move. And we have to come to terms with that creative power of money and what it does. What is money doing for us? What is the striving after money? And how do we spend money in our life? How do we save it? How do we use it to help people? One of the most interesting questions that comes at this time in the esoteric teachings is, why is money not released for hierarchical purposes? What prevents it from release to great works all over the world? Of course, great philanthropists give money to research and development and for taking care of human beings, their education, their welfare, health care, and so on. But let's take that a little bit further and see what is your personal responsibility and your personal attitude toward money. These are the questions that we need to ask ourselves in your own private life, the way you deal with your family and money, the way you give to organizations, for example. How do you use your money and for what purposes? So you are looking now at three different energies in the period of Libra: the energy of the law, the one law, the energy of sex, the energy of money. And what is your attitude toward those three energies? How do you handle those three energies in your life? And see what answers you come up with, and see where you want to go next in your life, and how you are going to use those three energies to recalibrate yourself, bring yourself in a much greater equilibrium. If we have these three things set and balanced in our life is enriched in so many ways. So this is the teaching about Libra in this month. I encourage you to read this chapter 3 times or more during this whole week. It's so important because this battlefield is won first in our mind, the way we understand things, the way we frame them, and then how we take that understanding and we actualize it or externalize it in our life. That's how life changes. Our life changes when we have a standard and we adapt ourselves to that higher standard. So Let us now take time to do a beautiful meditation. This is on pages 73 to 74 in this volume, volume 3. I will guide us, so sit up straight and put a nice smile on your face. We will begin with the Great Invocation after you achieve a nice, relaxed, focused state. And then we will say 3 Oms. And each Om relax physically, emotionally, mentally, and then I will guide us through the next steps. So, take a deep breath. Relax. Put a smile on your face. As we say the Great Invocation, think of hundreds and thousands of people all over the world saying the Great Invocation with us. And that beautiful light and love and will of God pouring through the world toward all of humanity. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Now visualize you are climbing a big mountain, and walk up that mountain slowly, visualizing the rocks and the difficulty of the climb. And when you reach the top, sit on top of the mountain and look all around you. This visualization creates striving in you and helps you set new standards from a higher perspective. So take your time and climb up the mountain. When you're at the top of the mountain, standing, feeling the breeze, see how a great a view you have all of life, and see what your standards need to be. Sit down somewhere comfortable on the mountain and start thinking of the physical standards that you would like to change for yourself. If you ask your higher self, what should my new standard be for myself, physically, emotionally, and mentally, and pick one standard for each part of your life. Ask for divine help from your solar angel to help you strive and actualize those standards. Keeping in your mind the 3 standards that you just set for yourself and asked for divine help, let us say the great invocation again. And as we talk about love and light and power, think of those highest standards of the divine law that is given to us in this great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you for joining me today for our monthly Wisdom of the Zodiac classes. I really love doing these classes and I hope you enjoy them too. Let me know what you think and how you would like changes, what kind of new things we can do to help you understand these classes better. I encourage all of you to get these books and read them. You will never be tired of them. I have studied these books now for 4 years steadily with our group here. We get together once a month and we have a discussion. And if you'd like to study these a little more deeply, let us know and you can subscribe to the discussion forum once a month. But if you just read it on your own even and think about it, it's wonderful. I encourage you also to gather a few people together during the full moon and do these meditations. Spread the teaching about light and love and power. These 3 energies are really beautiful, especially when you say from the center which we call the race of men. Let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Do we not need that right now? In every country we need to increase the power of divine light, divine love, and divine power. And these are so important for us. So think about studying the wisdom of the Zodiac, not just for yourself, but every time you study it, you are spreading these principles and teachings to the entire world, so that as a body of humanity, we are grasping these higher principles and adapting our life to them. You become a messenger of light and love and truth as you study these teachings. So it's not just an individual thing that you are doing to bring yourself into greater balance and, of course, achieving harmony and equilibrium, but you are doing this for everyone. So I'd like to encourage you to increase your service and your love for your fellow human beings by doing this work every month. Thank you very much. It's a joy to be with you, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.